Sometimes when I'm thinking about us, before we got lost and we parted, back to back we would carry on and we'd do anything for what we started. But this time we could break. I'm running dry, everything's the same. We'll try tonight. This time we're not safe and sound, not safe and sound. Back we would carry on and we'd do anything for what we started. But this time we could break. I'm running dry, everything's the same. We'll try tonight. This time we're not safe and sound, not safe and sound. What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me? Yeah.
Ooh, a little early there on the scene change. Whatever. Welcome, everybody, to the FPV News. It's good to be back with you for Tuesday evening, where we're going to go over some developments in the world of FPV.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what we do here on the FPV News. Yeah, we go over each of the weeks or a couple of weeks or however long it's been since we've last did the news. Sometimes it's been longer rather than shorter. And you can always email news. We got it down there in the corner. News at fpvknowitall.com. If you've got any juicy information to let us know about, or something you think we know about, but maybe we haven't talked about, including the Red Bull thing, which unfortunately we will not be talking about today.
I mean, I'm happy to talk about the Red Bull thing. I think it's amazing. I actually talked about it on the live stream a little bit. I said in the world of FPV, it compares to the moon landing, which is that it is a thing that was widely believed to be, if not impossible, incredibly difficult, and no one could do it. And now someone has done it, and it's a sea change, a generational change in the capability of FPV pilots. Yeah.
I mean, we can discuss that.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think that's based on budgetary issues and interest versus skill. But yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to talk about the Red Bull video, but we won't be showing any of the Red Bull video. I tell you, well, let's call an audible, Blunty. We will throw that into today's list. We will not show the Red Bull video because Red Bull will they won't copy strike me, but they'll just take the revenue from this video. That's how YouTube works. If you use somebody's copyrighted footage or music, they can choose to copy strike you, and you got a strike, and then it's really bad for your channel. But most of the time, they just say, hey, you know what? We'll take all the money this video makes, and you can use our footage. It's all good. And I don't want to do that. I want the money from this video. So we'll talk about it, but we won't show it. And you can just go look it up, and you totally should. But before we do any of that, let's get some public service announcements out of the way. Public service announcements are things we put at the very beginning of the stream, just little quick things that most people actually aren't going to be affected by. But if you are affected by them, oh my God, they're going to drive you crazy, and you're going to be glad you heard about them here. What's the first one, Blunty?
The first one is a PSA on Sbus in 1010. If you are still using Sbus instead of CRSF or something else, sometimes you might need Sbus. So, but if you're using the 1010 configurator, specifically RC2 is the one I tested on and saw, the top picture is 10.9 and the bottom picture is 10.10 configurator. And
wait a minute.
That there's an option that used to be there that included CRSF, Ghost, GHST, and Sbus all together, and you would get them flashed at once.
And that was the default.
That was the default, so you wouldn't have to do anything extra to make Sbus work. But now you need to go and select Sbus that's flashing to make Sbus work.
Right.
And the telltale sign for this is if you go into the receiver tab and you set Sbus, and the bars are just blank. They don't have like the normal middle of the road like defaults like they would have normally.
Hang on, I'm gonna see if I might be able to fake this. If we go to the receiver tab. No, they're yeah. I thought maybe the virtual COM port would fake it out. No, they just show the bars no matter what. So these color bars that you see here, they just won't be there. These lines will just be blank. And that happens when you select a receiver protocol that the firmware doesn't have. This is kind of a big deal because, like, the idea that I flashed Betaflight to 4.5, I want to try the new Betaflight release candidate, and suddenly, like, your receiver just stops working. Like, it's not like Sbus is this obscure protocol, but Betaflight 4.5 by default does not have support for Sbus baked in. You need to make that change when you flash it.
Yep. So we just want to let you know, or if you hear about a friend having this issue or anything like that, just spread the word that you got to pick that at flashing now. And that goes for any of the protocols other than CRSF that need that specific information. So,
well, sure, that was introduced in Betaflight 4.4 with the cloud build functionality because Betaflight got too big. It wasn't fitting inside the storage memory, the storage space of some of these flight controllers. And so they were like, well, we could just stop supporting these flight controllers. Or we could just take some shit out of Betaflight that people aren't using. And it turns out that, like, if you use Crossfire, then you probably don't use FreeSky Spectrum, especially because you can, on the same flight controller, you could flash one flight controller with Crossfire and one with Spectrum, and, it's fine. But you're not using all of them at once, so let's just take the code out of there. Well, now Sbus has been cut. Does that mean, Sbus is like, bye-bye Sbus, right? That's it. Crossfire.
I think it's a recognition of like, hey, Sbus is no longer doesn't need to be there by default because most people shouldn't be using it.
Yeah. Now, Dominic Clifton has an interesting point. And Dominic, most of the time, if someone was saying the things you're saying, I would say, well, it's an open source project. If you have such good ideas, why don't you contribute to it? Yeah. But since you invented CleanFlight and are still a major contributor to Betaflight, I guess you could complain. I had the same complaint, though. Dominic Clifton says, I feel like the GUI should figure out what the firmware has support for and update itself accordingly. If Betaflight has been flashed so it doesn't support, say, GPS, then the GPS tab should just say, hey, I can't do this. And I had this idea way back when 4.4 first came out, and I argued with some of the devs about it, and the takeaway from them was that after you flash, it's really hard to know what features were put in and left out. And I was like, well, how hard could it be? And they were like, trust me, it's hard. It would require creating a whole new meta structure of information about what the flight controller can do that doesn't exist. And they were just like, forget it, we're not doing it. But
Right. There's not like a set of flags somewhere in the front of the file that says, here's all the features that were turned on, right? And that's what they're saying is you would need to do all of those things to do all of the different things that were included, right?
And it's and again, I'm just saying what I was told. I'm not a programmer enough to really judge this, but it's more complicated than that because Blunty, obviously, you could encode in the firmware somewhere a list of the options. This was flashed with Spectrum, GPS, etc. But then you have to go through the whole GUI and say, if you don't have option X, then this GUI option needs to disappear. So they basically have to rewrite the whole GUI. And then every time a new option was added or updated, it would also have to be tied to the GUI, and it would just add a huge amount of work. But
yeah, I mean, yes. We could say similar things about the build system, but yeah, I mean, it's good that we have what we have, to be honest.
Dominic Clifton says, well, that's only because they haven't put any effort in yet. And yes, it's non-trivial, but giving up and not doing it isn't the solution. To which I say, well, if you have such a great idea, why don't you submit a pull request, Mr. Maybe he'll do it if I shame him enough. Do more free work, you bludgers. All right. I agree with you, man. I agree with you.
Yeah, so now you know.
Okay.
About Sbus.
Yeah. Next up,
also with
another
the PSAs. This one is, I would say, reasonably important for the fact that I don't think we've seen much in the way of fake FPV products before.
Not often.
And just a couple chargers and a couple other random things. But now Rush has posted on Facebook, and they claim that there are multiple Rush fake Max Solos on AliExpress. They've listed 3 companies here in the post that they claim are the source of these, but they are saying that basically, keep an eye out. They're going to continue to post about counterfeits if they find them. But yeah, be warned. If you're buying a VTX on AliExpress from Rush, or honestly from anyone probably, but from Rush, consider they could be faked. I expect it's the Max Solo because it's the most expensive SKU, and there's some way that they can cut costs to make it look a lot cheap, to be a lot cheaper to sell at that SKU, but it's hard to know for sure.
Rick LaBanca asks, fake or counterfeit? I believe both, right?
It's hard.
I'm not sure.
What's the differentiation we're making?
Well, there's a difference between like a clone product and a counterfeit product. At least in the minds, I think what he means is like clone. That's why I've heard this distinction made before. A clone product is a product that is obviously copying something else, but does not represent itself as being that. So if I was to release the JB, it's not a Rush Solo, it's a Fast Duo. And it looks just like a Rush Solo, and everybody knows that's what I copied. But I'm not putting Rush branding on it. That's not a counterfeit. Does it claim to be a Rush product? Yes. Yes, it does. Yes. It's listed as
Rush stickers and has Rush stickers, as Rush imprints printed onto the
like you can see right here.
Yeah.
You can see right here. It says Rush FPV. It has the Rush stickers. It is a counterfeit Rush FPV VTX. Clones, I feel like cloning, a lot of people are way more angry about cloning than I am, because I think there's a certain amount of just copying that happens in life, and you just got to kind of live with it. But counterfeiting, I feel like people have a right to know what they're getting, and I really have no tolerance for counterfeiting.
Yep. As far as quality, I can't tell you what the quality is, because they obviously aren't going to tell us that they work or not and how much, and I have not seen any personal reviews of these the knockoffs. So
yeah. Okay, so just know, buy from authorized vendors, I suppose. All right. That's our PSAs. Let's talk about the Red Bull thing. Okay? Let's horn that in right now, and then we'll get to the rest of the stories. So, the Red Bull thing. The Dutch drone gods built a drone that can fly fast enough and long enough to follow an F1 car around a circuit. What was the name of the circuit? I don't remember.
Silverstone circuit.
Silverstone. Which is extraordinary because, number one, F1 cars go real fast. The drone tops out around 300 kilometers an hour. So in the past, when you've seen drones chasing F1 cars, it's been in a slow section, and then the car hits the straight, and the car just leaves. And the drone kind of, I'm done here. That's the end of the shot. But this drone just keeps up with the car the whole way around the circuit. It can do 200 to 300 kilometers per hour for a whole circuit. So it has enough battery life to stay in the air that long. And it can maintain video link around the whole circuit, which is not small. And like, you definitely should wait until the news is done and then go watch this video. If you haven't seen it, it's extraordinary. And I felt when I was watching it, number one, like, the footage is just so cool. It's like a video game, seeing this car, chasing this car. But I felt like I was seeing something like generational, you know? I don't know. I really had a reaction to it, because all of these things, I would say, yeah, you could build a drone that can go 300 kilometers per hour, but not for very long. And, like, you know, they did all these hard things all at once, and I'm super impressed.
Yeah. I would argue that it's because Red Bull funded them and they wanted to do it.
Well, sure.
Right. Like I think it's cool, but I also think like for me, like the landing on the moon moment is like ran over on a Michael Bay movie.
Absolutely agree. I wouldn't argue with that.
Yeah, I think this is like just logical progression as drones pick up in the progress of things. Like, we're going to see big funded projects that do all kinds of crazy stuff with drones, because we know there's tons of stuff you can do with drones that we just need money, supplies, funding, situational awareness, and testing for, right? Like you could do this. Like, if somebody came to you and said, I have unlimited money and I have a project for you to do, can you do this, right?
You say that.
To me, that's knowable, right? But it's not knowable that, like, I don't know, we'd be replacing cranes in movies. Like,
you say that, but, like, how many people could build a drone that goes 300 kilometers an hour? Like, obviously it's been done, right? But most people wouldn't succeed at that. And I think that this is a case where we all know how to make a drone that goes fast, and we all know that you can make a drone that goes a long range, and, like, we know that these things are doable. And so when someone does them all at once, it feels less impressive than I think it really is. Because you sit down, I don't mean you personally, I'm not like trying to call you out, but any one of us sit down and go build me a drone that goes 300 kilometers an hour. I bet you'll fail. It's harder than you think. You'll blow up ESCs, you'll blow up motors, or you'll hit a wall where you're going 160 miles an hour and you can't go any faster and you don't know why, right? So I feel like it's, maybe you would say it's like they like, it's easy to do like a triple axel in figure skating, but then somebody pulls a crazy combo of moves all together, and that's kind of what they did. I don't know.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't think I agree with that, but but it's fair that we have different opinions.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
Let me put it this way. Go ahead.
They blew up a bunch of ESCs too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but they eventually figured out how not to blow up the ESCs.
Right, and I feel like that's something. There's a lot. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like that's more able to do with. I don't know. It doesn't seem that unachievable to me based on where I know drones are.
Yeah.
But
let me. And obviously, we could just go back and forth and disagree with each other for hours, but we won't. How many? If I said, I want a drone to follow my race car all the way around the course, how many people on Earth right now can give you that shot?
If you give them money and time, a lot. That's what I think.
No. Right now.
Well, they didn't do that right now. They were paid and got a job and went and burned ESCs.
But they have the technology. That's my point. They are, at this moment in time, the only team on Earth who can give you that shot right now. No one else can.
Because they were... Yeah, and I'm saying any team that was put in the same situation could do a similar thing if they were given enough time and had the right people on the team, which I don't think is that rare. I think it's like there's a large amount of people overall that could do that job. Like, I think if you, I don't know, maybe I'm overestimating based on, like, I think I totally could have done that job. Like, I think you could have totally done that job.
Oh, I don't know about that. Like, the engine, like, apparently they spent over a year designing this and building this system.
Yeah, it's not overnight. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's not like they magically these are the drone pros, and in 2 weeks they popped out something that was able to do this. They dumped a bunch of money and time and effort and testing and cycles and revolutions and teams and planning and all this stuff to get this to happen. And I agree, but that's how it works to me.
Yeah.
Like,
but they did.
That's how processes work in any system. It's cool, but
I think they deserve more credit than that. I don't know. I heard that they had a Mavic with a video repeater, and they actually had multiple. Either they moved the Mavic. I can't remember if they moved the Mavic to aim the antenna at the quad as the quad goes around the course. So there's a separate pilot steering the Mavic to point the video antenna and keep the quad aimed in the beam, so the pilot keeps video. Sure, okay, I understand those words, and I could set that up. I've tried to work on projects like this before, and the technological hurdles you run into, and the fact that even if anyone could have done it, the fact that they took a year to do it, and they're the first to have done it, I think I feel like they deserve a lot of credit for that. So
yeah, I think it's definitely cool.
Yeah, very cool. Anyway, and now I agree with you. Here's where I'll agree with you, Blunty. Now that they've done it, it's like, the story about, once someone did a 4-minute mile, then a whole bunch of more people did the 4-minute mile because they knew it was doable. You are right that every single piece of this is a thing that has been done before and that people in the FPV world know about. This is not the first 300-kilometer-an-hour drone. People know how to build fast aerodynamic drones. And now that someone's done it and it's in the realm of the possible, I think we will quickly see more teams doing it. Especially because I think people are going to look at the shot and go, this shot is so cool. Who can give me this shot? I will pay for it.
Yeah, I think F1 has a lot of money to throw at that kind of stuff too. So that's a good place to do that kind of thing. Yeah. So what other industries could spend a year developing that for that kind of shot, right? Not many.
Yep. Anyway, Dominic Crifton says, very impressive, but not easily replicated. Yeah.
I mean, it's a team with it took him a year, and I don't necessarily think it's easy to replicate. I don't think it's cheap. I don't think it's easy. I think it's doable.
I still want to argue with you. I don't think we should. The fact that it took F1 money and Red Bull money and the Dutch drone gods a year to pull it off. Okay. It's like, well, I climbed Mount Everest. Yeah, sure. All you had to do was just keep putting one foot in front of the other while breathing oxygen and not dying of hypothermia. Yeah, okay. I understand. But it's still impressive that I did it. I don't know. Anyway, let's move on. That's our talk about the Red Bull. You definitely should go search Red Bull drone. It's all over YouTube.
If you will find it. That's impressive.
Yeah. But we can't show it to you because we don't want to get copy struck.
Yeah.
Don't see a repeater being necessary. Silverstone's 5.8 kilometers long. You'll be well within 2 kilometers when standing in the middle, probably closer to 1 kilometer. Hey, I mean, I assume they did it the way they did it for a good reason.
I think the problem is line of sight, mainly, right?
You could be 2 kilometers away and lose line of sight, depending on the layout of the track.
Yeah, so you just you hover the repeater so you avoid the line of sight blockages.
Yeah. It was amazing seeing the air, because it was on a wet track. They obviously they didn't have all day to do it, or the unlimited scheduling, so they had to do it on a wet track. And seeing the water coming off the track and seeing the shape of the air vortices behind the quad in the water was so cool. And seeing the car, like, he got loose a little bit, just seeing the car, what it was doing as he's driving was extraordinary.
Absolutely.
Anyway, next up, let's do a story. Let's do a story that we won't argue about.
Okay, I'm sure. let's see what's up next. We've got a story about AI that nobody should have any disagreements about AI stories.
Oh, right? AI! It's good. Oh, so good.
Mo posted this video. I had kind of been playing with this tool a little bit previously. I've been trying to learn video editing in my off time, and this has been poking around. This tool is really neat. And yeah, it's an AI upscaling program essentially that can remove grain, can upscale video, can denoise video, can interpolate, so it can add frames to video. So far in my testing, I think it's actually pretty impressive what it can do. If you scroll a little bit farther, though, he has some double shots where you can kind of get an idea of the difference that's happening in here. And obviously, with AI, you've got smoothing that's going to happen.
You guys need to know, by the way, that you're watching, I can see a difference in the stream. You're watching a 4.5 megabit per second stream, so you're not seeing the full quality if you go watch the original video. Go ahead, Blunty. I can still see big differences.
Yeah, he's just showing here examples of the analog, but he also does some with some digital stuff as well. HD0 upscaling in particular, I think, looks pretty good. But yeah, I think it's pretty impressive what it does. I notice a lot when you go to the 4K stuff, there's kind of more smoothing that happens because there's a lot of pixels to make up.
Yeah, like right here.
But I find especially in movement, like especially if you have like a bad shot that you got, like you can't go back and fix a shot you made, right?
Right.
Like you just took the shot and now you get home and you realized, oh, it was like I had some weird graininess, or I had it overexposed, or it was too blurry and the focus was just out. Like this can try to fix all of that stuff, which I think is pretty interesting.
This is actually crazy good. Look at the straight lines here, and they're kind of jaggedy, and then here, that's a big improvement. The smoothness in the windows. Especially with a moving shot, I probably would not notice that this was like processed.
Yeah.
Like it's not so far that you go, this is terrible. What have they done?
Yes, and there's settings for all that in the app too. So you choose like the strength and how much you preserve and like all of those things. And he has a tutorial where he goes through and explains that there's different models you can choose in the app as well for different effects on the footage. And I think there's probably still a lot to be figured out about the best settings for what we're doing too.
So the downside is that this is not a free open source project. This is Topaz AI. I'm familiar with Topaz AI. It is not cheap.
Yeah,
there's a
30-day trial. Yeah, there's a 30-day trial, but it is $300 for the video AI if you try to buy it later. But I think this is a cool example of what the AI can do, and I'm sure there will be free tools that can do similar soon enough. But you can also play around with this for 30 days and see what you can come up with out of your old analog videos.
I've played with this a little bit. The processing time is also pretty extreme. It depends on your computer, of course.
Well, but yeah, I have 4070 Ti, and I'm able to get on like a 4x upscale on analog, so up to like 1920, whatever by 1920. It was about 3 or 4 seconds of processing per second of video, so not too bad.
That's not that bad. It's not that
bad.
Okay. Next, let's talk about remote ID and the AMA. Everybody's favorite topic.
Yes.
And the thing that we like most about remote ID is the times when we don't have to use remote ID. And that's what we're talking about in this video.
Correct. Yeah, we often don't get information out of the AMA. For people who don't know, AMA is the Academy of Model Aeronautics. They're one of the 4 community-based organizations that the FAA recognizes to do things like approve FRIAs. The AMA is also large in the RC model community, like main flyers, and they have all the fields all over the country. So the AMA does a lot of things in private, typically with lobbyists in Washington, and we find out about it in the aftermath, including us at the FPVFC and other places. So we found out about this actually after a lot of people, I think. But basically, how this process works is the AMA got special approval because I just want to really contextualize everything. So the AMA put new things into the Reauthorization Act for the FAA. So those things will go later and in the next year, 2, 3 years, which will include an ability for individual event waivers for FRIAs. So like if you have an event, you can file with the FAA, you can get a form done.
Race.
Yes, and then you'll be able to just fly without remote ID as long as you're licensed by the FAA to do that, like approved in that section. So that's going into the approvals, and will hopefully end up in the Reauth Act. It looks like it will, according to the AMA.
This is important because, like, you can get a FRIA for a fixed site that you fly at, but then if you're having a fly-in at like somebody's farm, or you wouldn't want to get difficult. That as a permanent FRIA. You just need it for this weekend so everybody can fly without remote ID.
Yeah, the technical terms of a FRIA are supposed to be somewhere that's flown regularly, not a once or twice a year situation. yeah, but basically the AMA is like, okay, but we can do something before that. We'll have to wait all this time, but we could figure out a method. So they worked with the FAA to grant special ability for any of the AMA sanctioned events to specifically file for a NOTAM and then be able to fly without remote ID for those events.
And this is a big deal. Like, it's like, okay, well, that's great if you're an AMA member, but it's better than that because, like, my friend Eirik Toft, who works on my website, he's on my Discord server. It turns out that he is the position in the AMA that lets you say this event is an official AMA event. Dave told me what it was, and I keep forgetting.
A contest director or
contest
an event
director.
manager? Both of them have the ability. Contest director and event manager of the AMA.
So that means that as I understand it, Eirik or anyone like him can just say, this event does not need remote ID. Boom. And then it doesn't. Love it.
Yeah. You fill out a questionnaire. You submit, I believe, 30 days before. This says 7 days, but I thought before I had seen 30. But yeah, before the event, you file it and you get that NOTAM approval. And then you can fly there without remote ID. Just so you know, we are looking into this at the FPVFC because like we kind of found out about it with you guys, so we're kind of back looking to see if we can figure out if there's a way for us to approve these as well.
Sure. Why should the AMA be special?
Well, I suspect a lot of this is because the AMA has an organizational structure with fields and clubs, and like they have positions already to a point, right? So like we would need to build a small organization of these people if we were going to do this with the FPVFC, which we would be willing to do. We're going to look with the FAA to figure this out.
Yeah, right. Like the AMA, in order to be an event manager or a contest director, they have like standards and safety training and criteria, and that makes the FAA feel good. That's not just like, yeah, sure, ignore the rules. Anybody, who cares?
And that's speculation, but I assume, I mean, based on the way this is structured and the way they work with the FAA, it does seem a lot like this is kind of they're getting a buy on this because it's like you said, they have this organizational structure already. Safety's already in place. Organizational guarantees are already in place and stuff. So.
But FPV Freedom Coalition can do that. Hey, I can write a safety brief or a standards doc. I can do that.
Yeah, so we're going to look into that as soon as we can and try to do that as well if we can. As far as I know, Eirik in the chat says you don't have to be an AMA member to participate. So only if you were like at an event where you already had to be, if you were flying in a field where you already had to be, it would be required. But otherwise you don't have to be. So I think a lot of races will be able to fall under this based on finding people to go with this. And then I also know MultiGP is aware of this, and they are going to try to find ways to get any races that are not on an AMA space or have the AMA people in them to get those involved in this as well. So basically every MultiGP race you go to, hopefully in the future, will be non-remote ID required.
Well, that's interesting. If a MultiGP race has prizes, then does that make it a 107 event?
I don't remember how the rules work on that. I think there's some... I feel like there was a clarification at one point, but I don't remember. Okay,
let's say for the sake of argument that the existence of a cash prize, let's say a cash prize, means that it's a 107. It's now a commercial. It's in furtherance of a whatever.
I think that's the case, but I feel like there was also a number or something.
Okay, yes. Let's say that for the sake of argument. Yeah. At that point, do you normally any 107 operation requires remote ID?
Right.
Does this... No, now special, you don't need remote ID. Does this override that? Or is this basically just making a temporary FRIA, in which case 107 ops still need remote ID?
The AMA post did not state any of that. Maybe somebody else in chat knows, like Eirik, who's a part of this, but like the AMA post lists the AMA guidelines of how to do this. They didn't like show us the document from the FAA approving this, or at least I didn't see that.
And this would be very interesting. And obviously, this is all a bunch of freaking. In an interview recently, I called it just like playing Dungeons and Dragons with the federal government, where you just have to figure out the rules, But you still have to play the game, or you don't have to, but some people will choose to play the game. It says here that they talk about deviation from remote ID rules. The ability to operate without broadcasting at AMA-sanctioned events. Do you see that they're not saying this is a temporary FRIA? If it was a temporary FRIA, then 107 ops would still require remote ID. But if it is, you may operate without broadcasting. It's at least possible that this is not just for recreational, and that would be exciting.
Yeah, like Eric says, any 107 flight must always comply, even at a FRIA. But like you said, this is not a FRIA. This is a specific
deviation from the normal rules.
Deviate. Yeah, we see this also with private agreements, because the AMA has some of those with the FAA as well, where they have like fields that aren't listed. Like you can't find out that the field is approved to fly in. It's not like located anywhere. But if you see the agreement, there's like a private agreement that shows that this site can be flown without remote ID. It's not a FRIA. It's an agreed upon acceptance letter with the AMA and the FAA.
Yeah.
So,
as someone like right now, I'm still looking for a way to fly 107 without remote ID, because every review that I publish on my channel is a 107 operation. As long as the video is, well, no, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. Yeah, I can't post a video to my channel without it being in furtherance of a business interest, plausibly. Somewhere in the future, the lawyer that's representing me hates the fact that I said that out loud. Yep. Hello, ladies and gentlemen of the jury and your honor. The ability to say, well, this area or this time period is a special deviation, even if you're doing a 107 op, would be, I don't think they're going to do that, but that would be very exciting if they did. Right.
Yeah, I'm not aware of. The only situation I know of that's like that are for search and rescue operations.
You say. Maybe I'm searching and rescuing with my reviewing drones.
Because like when you're trying to go somewhere, you don't want to broadcast where your drones are that are trying to do the search and rescue if you're in a hostage situation or other situation. You don't want to go like, here's my physical location of every drone that's trying to find you.
And the pilot's physical location.
Correct, yes. Yeah, so my understanding is they file specific approvals for like the day, and they can get those accepted.
Alrighty, well, anyway, moving on.
Okay. Yes.
So
I'll just say.
Oh yeah.
I'll just rare AMAW at this point.
Well, the AMA has a couple. I will give the AMA credit for the things they've done. They absolutely have gotten some wins that absolutely have made life better for FPV pilots. I've criticized them in the past, and people who support the AMA have said your criticism is unwarranted. I've said basically that the AMA doesn't represent the interests of FPV pilots. They represent the interests of people who fly. Obviously, they represent the interests of AMA members who fly at AMA fields. And that's as it should be, because that's their constituents. But the fact that in the course of representing their members, incidentally, they have helped FPV pilots who don't fly at their fields, doesn't mean that they're actually looking out for our interests. I think that we are incidental to their activism, and that's not, I don't want to be your second fiddle. I want an organization to whom my interests are paramount, and that's the Flight Test Community Association and the FPV Freedom Coalition. But the the AMA has hundreds of thousands of dollars in lobbying dollars and can get shit done in a way that smaller organizations can't. And so when they hand us a win, I will gladly take it, and I'll gladly say thank you for it.
Yes.
All right. Next up, we got a cinematic. No.
All right.
The fuck
cinematic of the week.
Apparently not.
This is a little bit different. We normally don't do videos like this, but videos like this normally aren't produced. So I think this is pretty cool. This is a short film. And it is called A World to Win, about a guy's first multi-GP race, kind of filmed cinematically and talking about drones and his lifetime and stuff like that.
Can we play audio from this? Is there music?
There is music, yeah.
All right, we're not going to play the audio again, just in case it's licensed audio. Don't want to get in trouble but that's okay, because I'd rather you go watch this guy's film on his channel. Wow, nice shot. Wow, nice shots.
This is very well shot.
Yeah. Very high key. Everybody wants to do high key. High contrast. It's very well shot. It's clearly intentional. And yet, I don't know why everybody wants to do high key. Fabio, are you watching? Oh. Just argue about color grading. Oh, that's nice. See, that's not too high key. Nice shadow there. Oh, little rack. Just talking about the cinematography. Videography. How long? Was it 5 minutes? 6 minutes? Amazing.
Yep. About 6
really
minutes.
Cool.
So
really cool.
Check this out. My one complaint about this was it's too short, which I think is a good
really
complaint.
That says a lot.
Right. Yeah. I thought this could have easily been 30 or 40 minutes. I would have watched the entire thing.
Always leave them wanting more, right?
If that speaks to you, yeah.
Yeah.
Like I would watch, like there should be one of these, but for his entire journey to winning a multi-GP championship. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's very well shot and understood, and apparently he did place first at a championship.
The reason it's not 40 minutes long is that this 5 minute one took him, I don't know. But like I can tell that there's a lot of work in this. Like
I thought the same thing. I'm like, this was what they had the means to produce.
Right. It would have taken a lot longer and a lot more money. I love content about FPV, documentaries, and so forth. I really would like to see more of it. So that's great. Let's check it out. And you should check it out too. And there's a link in the video. Blunty, where'd you go? There's a link in the video description.
Yes. I would love to see more short films like that. That would be nice. Or more any documentaries or anything about FPV would be pretty cool. I think, can I just say, I think there's a big missing gap of like, we have a giant influx of, oh my gosh, now I'm blanking on the term. But, you know, when people get in front of a camera and talk for like an hour or 2 hours about a topic, you know, that's a big thing now. I can't remember the name of the word I'm looking for.
Like a video essay.
Yes, video essay. Thank you. We need video essays for FPV. Like, imagine the essay somebody could tell with a pinboard and stories about like Orca's history and the goggle fiasco and like all the things that happened to them, or like TBS's history, or like you know, there's a lot of FPV things you could do and talk about like the development from the early base flight all the way through and pinboard all that out and talk about the developers and why Boris and like all these things happened, you know. And like I guess I don't know how many people know those stories to tell them or can do the research for them, but I mean that would be so cool to see that stuff. So.
No doubt. Bachgrinder kind of did that in his influencers video. I felt like it was a video essay, and I really enjoyed it.
Yes, exactly. Way more of that for sure.
Yeah. Okay. We got some events to tell you about.
Yeah, got quite a few events, but you might want to know about them. So we're going to let you know about them because we don't, you know, I often hear from people, I didn't know that was a thing. I would have gone to that. So we got to share it when we find out about them. No excuse. The Street League's second national race is in Houston, Texas, and it's this weekend, March 8th through the 10th. So if you wanted to check out some Street League racing, maybe you're participating already. We've got a schedule up here and some information about some Street League action. For people who don't know, Street League are big practice, what used to be called practice rigs. I'm not sure if that's still the frame they use, but are basically big versions of the DRL quads that I guess are no more. I haven't really thought about that.
Well, they still have the standards for the 7-inch. It's 7 inches. It's a minimum weight, so they have to be heavy. And they also run a custom version of Betaflight that has an RPM limit on the motors. So it's a spec league where they can only... basically, you're not going to be able to just power your way out of a mistake. You have to fly clean. You have to race clean. And I'm a fan of it.
And that's from the idea of the DRL 7 inches. But I was just thinking, like, I mean, is that even? I mean, they're probably done with that, right? I mean, I wonder if they'll go back and try to, you know, because DRL announced they were going all sim, right? And they fired a bunch of people, laid off a bunch of people, and I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what actually happens.
End of an era, freaking end of an era, dude.
Yeah,
no doubt.
Okay.
I noticed I had a reaction there because they are not releasing the track on Velocidrone before the event, so nobody gets to practice the track beforehand, and I think that's super mean, but also super cool. That's going to really challenge people to get good fast.
That's true, but then they're like, if you show up early and help us build it, you can fly it early. It's like, okay, so there is
you got to do something, right?
It's just a different advantage, but okay.
It says all registered pilots are welcome to come and fly the track, but nobody flies until the track is built. Your first opportunity will be March 8th during the build day. Track setup and open practice. No. Friday, March 8th, track setup.
Yeah.
Till noon. Open practice noon to 6:30. Anyone can show up at noon, right? And just start practicing.
Right. I got you.
So you get a practice day. So, you're saying if you can take off work Friday, then you get to practice. But if you don't make it out till Saturday, then yeah.
Yeah, but that actually does make sense. I didn't realize it was on the Friday, so that's close enough that it feels fair.
All right. WeBleed FPV is having an event.
Yeah, if you didn't know, in 2 weekends from now, WeBleed is having the Northeast Whoop Championships. That's March 15th through the 17th in Fayetteville, New York. And you can go hang out and fly some whoops, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. In Fayetteville. So that's nice. Whoop races and whoop competitions and stuff are always a good time.
Well, I'm doing Race Scout right now. So
yes,
I'm all about that. I actually went to a whoop race this weekend, too, last weekend. The person who was one position above me on the week 1 Race Scout leaderboard, and she was like, yeah, I beat Bardwell. She was super excited about it. She was at the race, and they finished qualifying, and they were like, okay, clearly some of you guys are faster than others. So what they did is they took the top 4 in qualifying and they made them a bracket. They took the next 4 and the next 4. I was in the 3rd group of 4. So, and then it wasn't brackets. It wasn't a ladder. It was like, no, clearly the first group is going to win. So they were just like, that's it. This is finals. One and done. So I got second. I lost. I got the whole shot. I was ahead for about half the track, and then during a particularly technical part, I basically I didn't crash it, but I made a mistake. I blew out a turn. She passed me, and I never caught her up for the whole rest of the run. She got first. I got second, and I was like, well, crap, I got eliminated. And then they were like, no, that was the finals. You got second. And I was like, oh, great, I got second.
Yeah, I think
I don't care.
Yeah, I think any race pretty much I've been in, almost any race I've been in, I think unless you're really, really high level, somebody can crash out or wobble and somebody else could win. Well, like anytime.
The other guy who was in my heat was Kevin Turner, Evan Turner's dad. I always have to say that because I think people may not know who Kevin Turner is. But he is usually faster than me. We used to be about the same speed, and he started really practicing, and he's usually faster than me by a fair margin, but he crashed out, and there you go.
Yeah.
So,
that's how I've won all my whoop races.
I'll tell you, I tend to race clean.
So hard in whoop races.
Yeah, I tend to race clean. Maybe a little too conservative. I hit a ceiling where I can't go any faster, but I tend to finish laps most of the time.
Yeah, I do this thing where I get in the zone, and then I think I can go faster than I can, and then I crash out, and I'm like, well, there goes that. So.
Well, but you reach a point, like when she passed me, and it was a 2-lap race, and she passed me at the halfway mark of the first lap, and I was like, okay, I cannot hold back. I have to catch up. And I tried, but I didn't get it. So anyway, congratulations to her. She beat me. She was one position above me twice now. But I'm going to do better. I'm going to do better in Race Scout.
You have a rifle.
Another event here. An event in Italy. Is Fabio still here? Fabio was in the chat earlier. I don't know why, because it's probably... it's only midnight, 1 a.m. where he is. But it's an Italy event.
Yes, it is an Italy event. It's FAI WDC Italy. This is the World Drone Championship, World Drone Cup in Italy. June 22nd and the 23rd, you can go fly in Italy and compete with a bunch of other good pilots.
Yeah.
See what you can get done.
Yeah, nice. Italian drone racing. The desire to make Italy jokes just because Fabio's in the audience. What city is it? If only there was a way to know. It's in Sumirago.
I'm sure everyone would appreciate that.
Varese. He hates when I do that. He hates it so much. Alrighty.
We got one more event that we got to take care of, and then we'll
Okay, one more event.
One more event, and that is the Acrobatics FPV Challenges Cup.
Oh shit! I skipped one, didn't I? I went out of order. I'm sorry, Blunty.
Yeah, I was trying not to call you out, but okay.
No, I'll take it. I'll own it. That's my bad. That's my mistake.
Fair enough. All right, the last one is the Acrobatics FPV Challenges Cup, which is just starting, and I think this is a good one to participate in. If you want to do challenges in FPV and compete against other people, you can do that in the Acrobatics FPV Challenges Cup that's going on now. This year, previously it was community-based voting, so it kind of could be popularity sometimes, that sort of thing. And yeah, that's not the case in this one. This one is instead judges, and they have a judges panel, and everybody will compete. And then over the course of 9 months, you'll earn points for winning challenges and completing challenges. So you can you don't have to win them all. You just have to complete them and do what they say, and then get through all of them. And maybe people who don't participate or who do worse sometimes, you can come up above. So nice.
I gasped because this is actually one of my favorite freestyle moves. I don't know why. I just really dig it. And I didn't even know it was this specific move. I just really like that look of the earth receding back from you. So I'm like, oh my god, a move that I already know how to do, that I can compete in a freestyle competition. I'm really psyched about it.
Yeah.
Really, really fun to see different freestyle. RaceGal running, Acrobatics running, so many opportunities for people to compete. And I love the internet-based competitions because they're accessible to anyone. You don't have to travel to a location to compete. Obviously, in-person events have their own appeal, but I really dig it.
Also, for just as a shout out, Aaron Ciotti is a judge this year, and Phantom FPV are judges this year. So,
is that why the laser flip? This laser flip is Phantom's move. I'm pretty sure. God, Headmazda's got it clean. Headmazda. I don't want to call him Headmazda.
Headmaster, right?
Headmaster, yeah, right. That's clean as heck, dude. I think this is Phantom FPV's move. That is real clean. That is real clean. Do you see? Oh my god, do you see? Yeah, I thought so. He's coordinating that turn. He's not just doing pure yaw. Dang. Okay, I'm learning how to do it. Oh no, I did it again. Really cool.
Absolutely. So yeah, go join their Discord. Go hang out over there and try to do these tricks. At least participate in one month. You don't want to do all of them.
Yeah, I mean, even if you don't compete, it's just fun to get a little inspiration, right?
Yeah. Also true.
All right. Well, before we go to It's Barely News, we're going to just read the super chats. We have 2 super chats. One is from Bob's World. Thank you for a $5 super chat, Bob. And Jekyll, thank you for 249 euros. Here's to last Sunday's rant and many more to follow. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. For $2 for 250 euros, it was all worthwhile. We got a couple events, stories for It's Barely News. Little stories that we don't have a lot to add to them, but we thought they were cool and we wanted you to know that they were there. That's why It's Barely News. And our friend, the Ingenuity rover, or the helicopter.
Ingenuity helicopter, that was on Mars. We've talked about many times here, and we announced that it ended. It did its last flight and lost communication. But the team did an AMA over on the Ask Science Reddit subreddit, and I thought this was pretty cool. They talk a lot of people asking different questions about, was this difficult, and what can you do with it now that it's there? And they're like, it's still taking pictures. We're doing analysis on like how the sand moves under the drone because we've got the shots.
Yeah, they're calling it the Ingenuity lander.
Yes,
it's transitioned from being the Ingenuity copter to the Ingenuity lander. That's great.
Yeah, if you scroll down to the next set of questions there, someone says, when do you expect the next helicopter to be on Mars? And they say, it says, let's see. The next concept is the Mars Science Hexacopter, which is a 6-rotor hexacopter the size of Perseverance, weighing 35 kilograms that can carry a 5-kilogram payload. So that's pretty crazy.
FAA, somewhere an FAA person's like, FAA, it's on another planet. It's okay. You have no jurisdiction. Navigable airspace!
So I like how they were like, yeah, 1 rotor did good, so let's send 6.
Let's do 6. Why not? That way, when you lose 1 rotor, you can have redundant ones. Love it. Send in frickin' helicopters to other planets. What the hell?
And now it sounds like it's going to be a regular thing, now that they proved it. So
never mind. Cool. Cool. Our next story relates to a guy who got in trouble for finding a deer with a drone. Can you help us? Why is that a bad thing?
Okay, so generally speaking, we don't want people to use drones for deer because it, essentially it just provides extra use, like an extra ability to do things like scare deer, corral deer, locate deer you couldn't otherwise locate properly. It's supposed to be a sport, not a locate and shoot.
We're not just harvesting deer. We haven't pigs, wild pigs. Fair game, do whatever you want, we don't care. But the rules are trying to create a balance between the hunting pressure on the deer population and the ability of the deer population to sustain itself. And so they just make up these rules about here are the legal ways to hunt deer, and doing it with a drone, not allowed.
Correct. So one thing that drones have been used for, since you're not allowed to hunt with them, and basically everybody knows that at this point, who's doing this professionally or doing this for any amount of time. So a company came called Drone Deer Recovery, and they go and organize people in different states to go out to communicate with a hunter, and the hunter calls and goes, I need help finding the deer I shot. So we don't leave a deer out in the wild, right? We want to rescue. So we want to retrieve the deer so that we can get the meat and not leave something out and have a clean kill and all these kind of things.
Right. Just for those who maybe aren't, as familiar with hunting, when you shoot the deer doesn't always go, you got me, and fall over. A lot of times the deer goes, what the fuck was that? And then runs. And it can run for freaking 2 miles sometimes before it actually finally bleeds out. And at that point, your obligation as a hunter is to go find it. You don't want to just leave the carcass in the woods, you know? And so the argument is that if I use a drone, if I shot the deer and now I'm using a drone to find it after it ran away, that's a different, because than actually using the drone to hunt the deer.
Right. And if we think logically, we want to be able to do that so that we at least, we don't want a wounded deer getting away and then dying for no reason.
But here's the thing. And I'm not really making an argument here. I'm just sort of playing devil's advocate. It's like think of a fishing analogy, Blunty. If the game warden comes out and you've got this gear that you're not supposed to have or something, and you're like, oh, I had it with me, but I wasn't fishing with it. And he's like, no, you're not allowed to have it on your person. Like if you're out and you're, it's bow hunting season and you're carrying a rifle with you, they're going to be like, sorry. So is the drone like that?
Yes, but here's the problem. This wasn't how this conviction happened.
Okay.
They set up a sting operation instead. And they baited him. They called him out to come rescue a drone. He made an agreement with the cop who was on site, who was posing as a hunter, and said, if this drone is alive, I cannot help you retrieve it. We'll attempt to identify it.
If the deer is alive.
If the deer's alive, I'm not going to,
So once the deer falls over and is no longer alive, the drone can be used to recover the carcass. But as long as the deer is alive and moving, and the drone operator was like, that's the line.
Yes. And he, the guy agreed. He's like, hunt another day or whatever is the term they used or whatever. But so he agreed. He sent the drone up. They located the drone. He saw the drone was live with the thermal camera. The deer was live. Sorry, there's 2 D words. He saw the view of the live deer and basically turned on the camera's infrared. And at that moment, they essentially busted him. So did
he break the rules? Or did they set him up?
I mean, they set him up, but they convicted him and accused him of hunting. And they fined him.
So the hunter said, let me get this straight. The hunter says, I shot this deer and the deer ran away. Can you help me find the deer? And the drone pilot says, if the deer's alive, I can't help you find it. So he puts the drone up and he looks and he sees, oh crap, the deer's alive. At that point, has he broken the rules? Like, how's he supposed to know the deer's dead?
This is, I think the argument is that you're not allowed to do this kind of stuff. Like you're just
you're not supposed to use a drone. He was trying to find a loophole in the rules, and they were like, that's not a loophole, go to jail.
Yeah, I think he's thinking of it like, I would rather make sure these deer aren't dying out in the woods with nobody retrieving them and being responsible hunters and helping people be responsible. And then just on site deciding whether or not you can help somebody based on the situation, right? So you don't get taken advantage of by other hunters.
Let's say he puts the drone up and he sees that the deer's alive and he goes, well, I can't tell you where it is. It's not dead yet, though. I'll tell you that. Has he broken the law?
My understanding is, I'm not sure, but basically, he was cited for 2 counts of using illegal electronic devices while hunting, a single count of disturbing game or wildlife, and a single count of violating regulations on recreational spotlighting with the drone. So I guess the positive thing of anything here is that while this is on a record, this is 4 counts and a fine of $1,500 total. So while this is a loss for him, this is a $1,500 bill. It's not like the end of the world here.
He was told by game wardens that such an activity was illegal. But, sometimes when cops tell you something's illegal, they're wrong, and you decide to fight it in court. And it sounds like that's what's happening here.
Yes. They do plan to appeal. So.
There you go. Alrighty, well. Fascinating. I don't have a lot to add. I guess we had a little bit of discussion about that. That was almost not It's Barely News.
Right. You never know. Stories like that, right? Okay.
Yeah. All right, we got one more.
One more. I thought we'd point out a cool project with brushless motors. We see some neat different projects come out with brushless motors every now and then. And in this case, somebody used brushless motors to make a machine that can solve Rubik's Cubes.
Oh,
so that's kind of cool.
I'm down. I just want to see it. It's weird, though. Brushless motors don't have position sensing.
Yeah, you did it all with cameras.
Oh, wow.
So he did rotational calibration with the camera. And then
those are big motors. Holy crap. Those are big motors.
Yeah, he just ordered one. He didn't.
I was going to say, why didn't he?
He probably could use the 23 or something, but yeah, he just went
Holy
hardcore.
Crap. I was going to say, why didn't he use like a stepper motor?
Right. Yeah.
Jiminy Christmas.
I think that would have been easier for sure.
Well, yeah, but who wants to do things the easy way, right? Wow. How does he... Wait, but he can... Jeez. That's something. I want to see it do the thing. Show me the thing. Do the thing. Do the thing. Wow. Well, that's pretty cool. Kudos to Ayed Musa for your project.
Yeah, pretty neat stuff.
Alrighty. Well, that does bring us to the end of the news. We do need to tell everybody that there will be another break in our schedule. I'm pulling up my calendar.
Yes. Hiatus.
I am going to shoot another movie. It's not a Michael Bay movie this time. I'm not going to say which director it is. But his name rhymes with Spielberg. Anyway, we will be back on... When did I say we'll be back? March 31st, we'll be back.
That's the next live we have scheduled on your channel.
We'll be back March 31st. And that is scheduled on the videos page of my channel, on the live stream page. So if you forget, you can definitely go there. I will miss you all terribly and be very happy to see you when I get back. And you too, Blunty. Despite the fact that you don't always agree with me, which is a little upsetting.
If we always agreed, it might be kind of boring, right?
Yeah. All right, man. That's going to do it, folks. We'll see you in the next one. Bye, everybody.